Put up in a whip, ghosting through the lane. Diamonds on my neck, gold like champagne. Shadows in the mist, playing mind games. Luther in my heart, burning like flame. Fast life living, never hit the brakes. Stacking all these wins, no time for fakes. Enemies lurking, but I keep the stage. Every move I make, yeah, the city shakes. Thinking about the nights we lost, yeah. All the bridges burn, feeling cars, yeah. But I keep on riding, never falling off, yeah. Looting in my soul, can't shake it off, no. Light of the night, we ride, we fly, feeling so right. All my demons, they hide out of sight. Looting, yeah, we unite. Straight up, city full of smoke, breathing fast, stay woke. Pockets full of dreams, watch your wake, provoke. Enemies in line, but my crew don't choke. Luther on my mind, yeah, we bout to provoke. Skyline, flicker, vision getting clearer. Heartbeat racing, adrenaline nearer. Money, power, fame, but the cost of it. Luther in my soul, pilot, yeah. Stars about to align. Yeah. Light of the night. We ride, we flooding so right. Straight up. All my demons, they hide out of sight. Looting, yeah, we unite. Looting, yeah, we unite. Looting, yeah, we unite. Yeah, straight up. Luther, night city life, feeling right. Rolling through the vibe, never out of sight. Put up in a whip, ghosting through the lane. Diamonds on my neck, cold like champagne. Shadows in the mist, playing mind game. Luther in my heart, burning like flame. Fast like living, never hit the brakes. Stacking all these wins, no time for fakes. Enemies lurking, but I keep the stakes. Every move I make, yeah, the city shakes. Thinking about the nights we lost, yeah. All the bridges burn, feeling the cause, yeah. But I keep on riding, never falling off, yeah. Luther in my soul, can't shake it off now. Lights slow, streets cold, no fear. Every move I make, they feel it near. Boom, ice in my chest, fire in my veins, crown on my head, out on these lanes. Silent step, echoes in the alley. City whisper, secrets got a tally. Heartbeat like drums, can't ignore the pain. Out here in the shadows I reign. Pull up, ass black, whip, no face. Every corner I turn, I'm running this race. Money stack high, I just want no trade. Enemies lurking, lost in the haze. Night falls heavy, streetlights flicker. Life in the fast lane, clock ticks quicker. Pain in my past, memories bitter. But I move forward, mindset slicker. Hustle never sleeps, grind never stops. Everyone I take, setting new paths. Diamonds in my chain, ice on my wrist. Every dream I touch, can't ever resist. Out here, yeah, we live outside. No rules, just the ground we ride. Feel the vibe, let it take you high. In the dark, we gon' shine, we fly. City lights, glow, shadows creep. Every secret I hold mine to keep. In the night, we thrive. In the fight, we rap. Out here, we kings with fire in our eyes. Counting every loss, learning from the pain. Running through the storm, dressing in the rain. Enemies talk, but they faking the game. I stay 10 toes down, I stake my claim. Blood on the street, scars in my mind. Every step I take, destiny aligned. Rolling in, falling in the foreign. Tires burn rubber, city's heartbeat, I hear it, no stutter. Lights flash past, neon glow in the mist. Life on the edge, every risk I kiss. Haters wanna see me fall, yeah, they wishing. But I rise up higher, my soul keep glistening. Out here, yeah, we live outside. No rules, just the ground we ride. Feel the vibe, let it take you out. In the dark, we gon' shine, we fly. City lights glow, shadows keep. Every secret I hold mine to keep. In the night we thrive, in the fight we rap. Out here we kings with fire in our eyes. Shadows dance on the walls, memories linger. Time slips away, life's a tight finger. Friends turn foes, smiles hide the dagger. Trust is rare, gotta move like a baller. Pain in my chest, I bury in lyrics. Every night alone, reflection gets vivid. City hums low, stories untold, life's currency heavy. Diamonds like gold, eyes on the skyline. Dreams in my grasp, every heartbeat loud, like a thunderclap. Emotional scars deep in my soul, cinematic life, playing my role. Beats in the street, pulse of the city. Every risk I take, bittersweet gritty. Rolling double time, cash on my mind. Enemies lurk, but I leave them behind. Traps in the alley, whispers in the dark. Everyone I take, I leave my mark. Pull up in the coupe, now fire on deck. Life on the edge, what the streets expect. Trust is a gamble, love is a game. Every loss I take, I rise to the flame. Outside we roam, kings of the night. Lost in a dream, city inside. Every verse is split, story unfolds. Out here we survive. Hearts made of gold. Out here, yeah, we live outside. No rules, just the ground we ride. Feel the vibe, let it take you out. In the dark, we gon' shine, we fly. City lights glow, shadows creep. Every secret I hold mine to keep. In the night we thrive, in the fight we rap. Out here we kings with fire in our eyes. Yeah. Outside we live outside. Yeah, we ride. City never sleeps, we echo loud, ghosts in my drive. Move unseen, crown every universe wide. Yeah, yeah. Astral throne, we rule the night. Every loss we flip, now we take flight. They want the grind, can't touch the height. We moving shadow kings in the light. Astral throne, no change, no fear. Money talk louder than whispers near. Eyes on us, but the past clear. When darkness speaks, legends appear. Tires burn, streets under my feet. Pain in my chest, put them in the heat. Life a gamble, every loss a beat. Ice on my wrist, haters feel defeat. Doors lift, clouds been low. Aura too strong, haters won't know. Move like a venom, solid bow. Every city has a turns to go. Started in silence, now they chase the fame, we move insane. Turn every doubt into gold chain. Try to check the king, can't read my play. 10 steps ahead, they all in late.
Testing. Testing. All right. All right, so we're live. Everyone is here, so we're going to get started. Thank you all for attending. Thank you for your patience. So what we do, if you're new to these calls, we do strategy calls every week on the Revocable Living Trust. So if you're new to these calls, we do strategy calls specifically on Revocable Living Trust. What our goal is to try to share our experiences, share our testimonials, see where we are going in the right directions. We may be thinking about taxes. Some of us may be dealing with court. Some of us may be dealing with housing, real estate. We may be dealing with custody. There are multiple areas that the Revocable Living Trust will actually go into. It is not a one thing that you do when you have a revocable trust. We're going to learn about different things we're going to talk about today as we get multiple testimonials and people to speak about exactly what your experience has been since you have started with your trust. So our goal is to get real-time knowledge. We're not here to try to give you a process. We're not here to say that there is a packet or a specific way that documents are done. Everyone's documents are customized specifically to you and specifically to your household. So we're going to talk about that today as well and get into more hard questions that most people may be getting into, even with dealing with the county clerk. So we're going to talk about the county clerk, and we'll talk about that just for a little bit. But just want to first open up the floor for live Q&A sessions. Feel free to ask any type of question that you may have. This can deal with foreclosure, eviction. This can deal with taxes that you owe. This can deal with loans that you have to pay. It can deal with anything that you can think of. We found out that the Revocable Living Trust actually covers multiple situations that we may not even be noticed of. I didn't know a few things a few weeks ago that my revocable trust covered. So I'll be sharing my testimony as well, but I just want to give the floor open to everyone else first, and then I'll be able to go into my testimonials of what I've recently been able to uncover with the revocable trust in dealing with credits or benefits that we already have access to. So at this point, I will yield the mic and allow others to get started with comments, questions, and shares. All right, so we have no volunteer. Nobody wants to go first with the Revocable Living Trust experience. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Here's somebody talking now. Go ahead.
Well, I thought you said we doing questions first, or we doing the experience.
Well,
Because I had a question on. Okay, so my question is about going into court and being able to the language I need to say to represent my trust that I'm gonna be that I'm a trustee living under the trust. So not to agree to whatever the the title is whenever they tell you to swear in, do not agree to that, and what I'm supposed to say to get them to recognize the trust. And family court is and child support court is my situation.
That's a great question. So you want to start off with the question first, like you say. So you got the option to question or your experience. So yeah, that's a good point. Let's say that you was in that situation, I was in that situation, all of us, right? So you said an important step that most people probably possibly failed, that first step, right? So can you explain that not swearing part, brother? Because you spoke a little fast when you said about, taking the swear and things. So what can you explain that a little bit about the swearing?
Well, just as far as when the court begins, they get you to swear in that you're representing this person, the all cap, and you agree that you showed up as that person today, and that's the swearing in part, to my understanding.
Absolutely. That is very important. So they actually do give you other options if you say, no, I cannot swear. So this is something that has happened to me multiple times. And even my wife, we've actually said, no, I cannot swear. So I think that you're saying something that's very important. Some of us are new to this and that we never knew that is a huge part. Let's say, even if I have the trust documents, right? Let's say I have everything on the record. I got all my documents in my hand. So are you saying, brethren, that that's important that we make sure that we don't swear in to that understanding?
Yes, you not. It's important not to agree to that to give them jurisdiction over you.
Interesting. Man, so we already starting off on the hot table right now. So how many of us possibly didn't do that? We probably would say a lot of us. And I think the remedy to that would be to say, instead of I swear, I think they give you two other options. After they answer that question, they'll either give you two other options, I think. I think the first one was certify. I certify that I'm telling the truth and that the foregoing is true. And I think the second one is I affirm. I affirm that I'm telling the truth. So these are different things that they'll trip you up that you say. Very important, Brother Raymond, that you said what you said about not swearing in to that name. Wow.
So what's the difference when you confirming or what was it too? The affirm or confirm
Right.
what you said?
Yeah, if you don't do it, they'll just mark off on the paper that you affirmed or you certified that you're telling the truth. They won't say that
So
you swore.
so what's the difference is what I'm asking to where the swear locks you into X, Y, and Z.
Right. I mean, that's the point. So that makes you bring yourself into an oath that you're
Okay.
not supposed to because of the biblical principles. Remember, we went over those biblical principles before.
Mhm.
Speaking of not to make oaths and things of that sort.
Right.
So
I
we
got you.
understand this. It's something that we've always knew, but we're like, how do I make this happen? How do I make this work? Well, you just gave us a great real time question, man. That was great because that is an important part if I was in court or if I'm dealing with court papers. Yeah. So
So when you filling out the document and it says I swear on the document, just cross it out and put affirm.
no, I'm not saying to change anything. I'm saying to make sure when you speak it that you know
Okay.
that you're not swearing. You actually are denied doing that you're swearing anything, that you're actually affirming or certifying at all times. There's actually a law, there's a federal law that says that you can do an unsworn declaration. So someone can type that in and it'll pop up that you actually can, by law, have an unsworn declaration. Wow. So that's some good stuff. So the next thing you say is, what do I say if I'm dealing with the court? That's the part that we have ran into. So Brother Vince helped us with a more, I guess, concrete way of making sure is that you put the trust on the court case, right? So you get that goes on the court case first. And then you have to get something called a certified copy, I believe, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, so once you get that certified copy, to my knowledge, you're supposed to actually walk into the courthouse that day with the certified copy in your hand. And you're supposed to give it to the bailiff, and then the bailiff gives it to the judge. At least that's what we're supposed to do in real time. But let's say that you did the stuff that we talked about. Maybe you put it on the certified copy on the court case this time. Is that something that I think you spoke on that you did before too, right?
Yes. Yeah, I put a copy, but I didn't put a certified copy. So I just put the certified copy this week. I
Oh, but that's
went down.
good. So what you're saying, you put a copy of the certified copy.
No, no, no. At first, when I recorded it, I just got a copy, but it wasn't certified because I didn't understand that there was a difference. Hold on, y'all. Let me go on mute to check in.
Take your time, take your time. So I'm just going into some questions and just trying to totally answer that question for you. If you're in the courthouse and what you're dealing with, if I was there, or any of us are there, right? And you got the revocable living trust. So yes, you're supposed to appear unsworn, which is very important, unsworn, and you also appear as the trustee. I think that's what we said last week. So you're supposed to tell the court that you are the trustee of the revocable living trust.
I have a question.
Go ahead. We're hearing.
I have a friend, actually. She's on the phone right now. Her name is Lisa. And Lisa, I'm going to ask the question for you if that's okay. She's just in a court case where and I've been helping her and assisting her with the court case. But should she do the same thing if she has a lawsuit against it wasn't it was a person that took her property, took her deed, and they were supposed to invest, and then they ended up stealing her condo. And so should she do the same thing? Should she submit her revocable living trust? And also, I mean, how would she correct that? Or does that not pertain to her circumstance?
Yeah, that's a layered question because multiple times, if you're in court for property, that's still the same. That's the same answer anyway. Is that they
Right.
swear you in, so you can't swear in. The first step. I mean, if anybody's writing steps down, we're just breaking these steps down as we go through the questions that's being asked. So that's first things first. If she's a defendant, that's the first thing they're going to do. They're going to swear you in, and you're now going to have to prove whatever it is that they're saying. It's their burden of proof. I'm sorry, it's not your burden of proof.
How would you correct that if you have already, if the case has been ongoing, I'm just wondering how you would
You
create.
have to become the plaintiff. That's why we say when you're going into the court, you're supposed to be the one in charge of the trust. So there's only two ways this works. You have to become the plaintiff. You come in and you do a new case, a case where you're the plaintiff and you're taking the same party to court.
Okay, yeah, she's the plaintiff right now. The other party just filed a countersuit, but um, so basically, if she is the plaintiff, would she record her revocable living trust into the case?
Correct. Yeah, I would.
Okay,
I would
okay,
put my revocable living trust into the court case so it can get on the record. That's another thing we're finding out if you put it on the court case, it is on the county's record. It
right.
is on the county's record. It's just not certified copy yet that a lot of people are finding problems with. So yes, the revocable living trust has to be in your hand, and you have to walk it in, or you have to mail it in or fax it in so that it can get onto the court case. These are the answers for like what Brother Raymond is even talking about. He's done those steps. He's on the step where he actually has the certified copy, and now he's actually going to stand before the court and speak to the court. So we're just making sure we're layering this down for people that are new to this, and maybe you're jumping right into the boat, right? So this is making sure that everyone understands, and maybe people may want to interject and say some parts that they may want to make sure. So is anybody else that may have the same question with the property cases, that you have to have the revocable living trust filed on the court case? All right, so Brother Raymond, I think he has stepped away. I know that we have a lot of questions and
Yeah,
thoughts to
I'm
this.
I'm right here. I'm
All
back
right,
if you
so
need me.
can you go back to that last part of your question that you spoke on?
Was it the part about what to say? I know you said to go in and okay, so I'm not agreeing to swear. I'll affirm or certify, and now I give the bailiff the revocable living trust. What is there anything not to say or make sure I'm aware of when they start talking to me after that?
Well, at that point, that documentation says everything. It makes sense. I was just reading that doc.
Yeah, it's just that when you're there and the magistrate, for the most part, is not a judge, but they come off as the judge. And a lot of people don't recognize the documents, so they'll say something or ask a question. And I'm just asking because I don't want to say the wrong thing in a response that quote unquote messes anything up. So I'm just
Correct,
asking.
correct. That's like they say, anything you say can be used against you, right?
Right.
So,
Hmm.
right, wise approach. So my approach would be not to make it seem like you're trying to get out of making the payment. So, like we said before, you'll accept all the charges if you're the defendant. I accept
My
all the
earpiece
charges.
went in. Say it again. You'll say what?
I accept all the charges, or I'm looking to pay off the entire amounts that I need to pay off on the court case.
Okay. Hmm.
That's if you're owing money, things like that.
So that which qualify like child support.
Correct. There we go. And we had that example that Brother Vince went over, that you paid the child support for about 18 years, right?
Hmm.
And then you have to take that number and you calculate that by 18, however
Right.
much it is for the whole year. And then you do that number. Then from there,
Mm.
that will get you to what they'll call the total amount. Because they'll say you can't pay the whole thing. They want you to take it out every month. So
So
that's the route for the I guess the payment if it was a child support case. But there's other types of cases, we'll
wait,
talk about in a few.
when you say I accept all the charges and the fees that come with against me, right?
Well, I mean, you're just casually talking and saying, well, look, I'm looking to get this whole case taken care of, get this case behind me. I want to go ahead and get this thing paid off. So
Because
it's an acceptance.
be- okay, because they just want money in the first place.
Correct. There you go. See, that's our issue, is that we're trying to say that we don't have the money when
Uh,
they know you have the money, right?
right.
Because the goal is to get you not, because you don't file your taxes, they're going to file them. That's really the whole case right there. got the revocable living trust in the court case, his certified copy, looking to take care of all the charges on the case, whatever it is that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
You
So
file your
so then
taxes.
they, so then they would give you a bill,
You ask for the W-9.
the
That's going to go into
W-9,
our forms again. So you can ask in the court for the W-9.
and just say it like that. Give me a W-9 of everything I owe you guys.
Yeah, I mean, like I would say, the way I would give notice to the judge, I would actually write it to the judge's chambers
Mm-hmm.
before the court case. So it's no surprises.
Right.
You see what I mean? I say, hey, how you doing? I'm letting you know I just updated myself with a revocable living trust. This is my situation now. I'm learning more. I don't know everything, right? Don't go into the situation as if we know everything. We don't know as much, right? And
Mm-hmm.
hey, I'm learning that I'm supposed to ask you for this, and I want to see if you all have the W-9, right? And that's pretty much our approach. And we're going to get into those forms in just a few. A list of all the forms that the government is expecting you to have if you all are actually communicating with entities. That's the way they see it. The entire government wants you to make sure that you have all these forms that we're going to talk about today. So is that good so far, Brother Raymond? I think that's where you
Yeah.
are. I think you can
Yeah.
come with another strategy along with that. But that is the approach based upon what you have so far.
All right. Thanks.
All right, so let's go to some more hard questions, or anyone wants to share a experience so far. We have any experiences so far that people want to share? Maybe you're not getting the results that you needed to get, even though you have the trust, or maybe you're looking to learn more about using the trust before you get started. So the mic is open for anyone.
I have another question. I had previously recorded a revocable living trust, and that was before I had discovered you. And I've been working on this process for about 7 years. And I still wasn't being recognized. And I realized after joining so many groups and doing my own process, you literally filled in the gaps to whereas now it seems like everything is just moving forward. And I went to the recorder's office on Friday, and it's my revocable living trust is 77 pages long because I added my own, I did my own additions, and it just, everything just seemed to be happening. I mean, it's just flowing. Everything is flowing. It seemed like before I had found out about you, it seems like I had a lot of roadblocks. And now since I've been following the more of the statutory, oh gosh, I'm not talking right today. Like I'm following your more the statutory, like instead of doing all like common law and constitutional and following the more the statutory codes, I guess you could say, having it more set. The recorder was willing. She started stamping the 77 pages, and without, it was flawless. My question is, but I wanted to thank you for that, by the way, for just all the information that you've been giving. My question is that I filed taxes from 2014 to 2025, and I kind of did them all at once, and I submitted them all at once, and they weren't done correctly. That was before I had filled in the gaps with your information. I filed the 1040s, and I didn't do the 1041s with the 1040s as as your video had stated. So I have a lot of those tax returns locked up right now. I was wondering if you happen to know I was going to go ahead and amend the 1040 and use the revocable living trust to amend all of those taxes, the tax returns. However, I did submit some ESs and Vs with those tax returns, and those have been recognized, and they're currently sitting in separate. Those remittances are currently sitting in a separate account held at the Bureau of the Fiscal Service, but they have been acknowledged. So I'm kind of going, how do I fix? What is the best course of action to? I believe that we have. I believe that we have the rights to elect to rescind those tax returns, or do I need to literally go in and just do amended returns using the revocable living trust?
Thank you for that question. And the way that you're asking the question could seem very long-winded and could seem to take a long time to get to the answer. So I'm going into my own self and thinking about myself, right? And
Okay.
I'm looking at how anyone should look at taxes. The first things first is we don't start in the past and try to get into the present. So usually with taxes, if you're first moving into this tax information with the revocable trust, you would file just the year that you're in. So you'll file like 2024, and you would go backwards. Or you would file 2025 because 2025 is open right now. So everything that we need to focus on is from January to November right now. It's almost January to December. So yeah, you would file your taxes from 2025 and you would go backwards. You wouldn't go all the way in the past and then move forward. So that's the first thing. Second thing is if you amend, we like to use the software. So we use the tax software by typing in what you said that you typed in, and we would use this as an amended tax return.
Okay.
So I hope that helps. And that'll get into the answers of the document list that I put out in the chat just now.
I
These
want
are
to
all
add something.
you'll need to have in
Give me
place.
a chance.
Oh yeah, go ahead. We got Blue Nova that was going to come in next, but I want to give everybody a chance to get to the idea of what you're going to need to do with those lists, and we'll be talking about that in just a few with that IRS document list. Go ahead, Blue Nova. I heard somebody else on the
Yeah.
mic.
Yeah, I've done a lot of processes, done a lot of things. I've been doing it for over 10 years. So when I met Brother Wallace, I clicked in right with him. He was already explaining the sole proprietorship, and I was studying that at the current time. Now, as far as all the old processes, my advice is I would just forget about them. It's a lot of things I done, and I ain't got no fruits from it. The best thing to do if you're new is join the membership. I believe it's $10 a month or so. Join that. You want to get a result? Do the sole proprietor tax offering that he has. Once you do that, it's going to answer a lot of your questions. It's going to get you where you need to be. That's the first step. That first step is going to help you out like Santa came down the chimney. That's 100 for everybody. Do the $10 process a month. Do that sole proprietor because it's tax season. This is the best time to start it. Then after you finish that process, you want to move on to try to do the complete course. He gives you step-by-step guidance. And like he said, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to be a year or longer. But each time you're doing a process, you're going to see fruits from your labor. It's not going to be like a lot of experiences I had in the past where you could be studying, watching videos months and months and months and nothing changes, nothing happens. But that would be my advice to everybody. The $10 membership and then get that sole proprietor, I believe is a 1040 offering he has. You can't lose.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Blue Nova. I appreciate that, and I'm humbly accept all the offering that you all give in services, and we return for our service to give you back. As we know, when you invest, or we don't say it's investing, you actually putting in, which we say what you're getting out. So I'm going to get very straightforward when we say whatever this is. It's whatever you put in is what you're supposed to get out. So all year, we always tell people start up with adding up all of your bills that you paid in January. January, the beginning this year. So you got January, then you got February, you got March, you got to go all the way down to where you get to where you are now. All your bills that you paid. So that's what you put in. Now you have numbers, and then you can get those numbers to get out, right? What a lot of people are looking to do to get the money back, which we'll talk about in a few, about how you get the money back on your taxes. So this is the main thing, is the fundamentals. But we have so many layers of going into this. So you got taxes, we got courthouse, you may have real estate. We got somebody dealing with real estate. You got custody. We may have just dealing with businesses. Maybe you have multiple businesses. The revocable trust is very important for your businesses. So we're here to just answer the questions. We don't want to keep you all in not being able to get the answer as best as we can. So does anybody have any other thoughts to the course that was mentioned as well? We talked about the taxes a little bit, but I gave you all a document list just a moment ago. Does that make any sense so far with anybody thinking about what exactly do I need to get started with this whole process, if it's a process? We're going to tell you it's not a process, it's actually the law. We are all here to make sure that we're understanding the government and the way they see that things are supposed to be done. We've been studying this, and this is very important. They didn't teach you in school about taxes. I didn't learn about taxes until after I graduated, if I had to say I went to college. So I didn't learn about taxes until after college, if I had to go into that layer. Some of us are still new to taxes. So I'm going to tell you, you're going to become a master tax person as you begin to do this stuff, especially if you start thinking about a living revocable trust. That is the key point that we're all talking about, a living revocable trust. Okay, so I got our notes ready to go for today. Let me go to some of our notes. This week, Brother Vince, he'll be coming in next week. We had a schedule that'll give us time, give you all time to go through those documents that we mentioned in last week. So he'll be going through those documents again to make sure you have exactly what you need to do those huge overpayments that everyone wants to do. The overpayments are going to come in later, but we're going to talk about a lot of this document list today to make sure that you understand all the documents that the IRS expects you to already have. So today we will discuss the financial powers of banking, along with receiving overpayment and refunds from the United States Department of Treasury. So this is your first time you're learning about where the money's coming from. I'll give you all just a quick rehearsal of where the money comes from. And this is always going to be coming from the United States Department of Treasury. So let's go to that webpage to give you all an understanding where this is as well. Maybe you all have never seen this page, but this is where the money comes from for all of our new people. What you're going to type in is bep.gov. bep.gov. That's the letter B, the letter E, and the letter P.gov. Just for time's sake, I'm going to show you the screen so that you don't feel as you don't see that you know where the money's coming from. So the money is actually coming from the Bureau of Engraving and Printing. So this is where the money's coming from. As you understand where the cash, the money, the $100 bills, the $10 bills, the $50 bills, the $5 bills, and so on. This is where the money's coming from. Okay, so if you're new to this is why the government has never really had a chance to explain this, but they do expect you all to already know this. Know all the information, because you can study this on a day-to-day basis, the U.S. Department of Treasury, and so on. Now, what we have to do is get something called lawful currency. Lawful currency will be the United States Department of Treasury checks, as well as the treasury deposits, which will go into the deposits that come from the treasury or where you really want to get your money from. So that goes right into the fiscal department, which I won't be able to go into detail too much today, but I want to just give you an introduction to the fiduciary office that we're supposed to play as we accept the funds whenever we do our taxes. If you're going to do taxes, we're talking about tax returns. We're not going to be telling you that you're supposed to be paying taxes, especially if you have the revocable living trust. All right, so let's go next into our next segment. I'll go into the private documents that we're supposed to talk about. It says, since Vince is not coming in at this moment, we're going to wait for his workout plan next week. Jump right into my segment. It says, Temple will explain details of the private banking methods utilized with the revocable trust EIN on the business side and the personal side. So I'll be able to go into that a little bit today to show you what the revocable trust EIN does. And once you have that revocable trust EIN, how you're supposed to use that for your banking system. When I say your banking system, you're supposed to go to the bank and feel as if the revocable trust has a bank account. That's the first thing that has to work for you. So if you don't have the revocable trust bank account, all your money is staying on the personal side, which we talk about as when we get into our banking course, we help you get all your money out of the individual side and move it to your sole proprietor. So let's go to one of our documents. I know that there is a big list of documents of how you're going to get access to the money. So the money is going to come through your tax return. So let's go right into the tax return. The first document we have on the list, I think it is the, I can't see it right now. Let me see what the chat shows me. First document we have on the list is the 1040. The 1040. So you need the 1040 tax return. So we're going to click on that to give you all a view of what the 1040 looks like. So they want the last 2 years or the last 3 years of what they call the 1040. So you need the 1040 tax return. And along with this document right here, we're going to talk about other docs that you can use. Next on the list we have is the 1041. Next on the list we have the 1041. Okay, so in the 1041, this is a U.S. income tax return for estates and trusts. Now, this one is for information purposes only. They don't send the checks really fast whenever you get this type of tax return right here. Although there are checks that do generate from the 1041. So we like to say we focus on both. So if you're filing for the first time of looking at a tax return, then you want to go ahead and file a 1041, and you want to also file a 1040. This is where the money comes from. So I just want to give you all straight to the point. If you're getting started with this information, this is where all the money's coming from. Any questions so far of the 1040 and the 1041 tax filings that you'll be doing for the revocable living trust? All right, so there's no question. Let's keep going. Let's go to the next document that you'll need is the Schedule C. Make sure that you understand. This is all right, so next we have is our Schedule C. So let's click on that. Schedule C. So the Schedule C will be attached to your 1040. This is a profit or loss from business. This right here actually activates your sole proprietorship. So if you all are learning how to activate the sole proprietor, this is where this starts at with the Treasury. So the IRS and the Treasury understands you activating the sole proprietor by filing a Schedule C. So anybody have questions on why you need the Schedule C on the 1040 in order to amend your taxes or to update your taxes as well?
I got a question. Is that I may have messed up on the telegram by saying this, but the Schedule C is to be done with the 1040 for the trust as a sole proprietor?
All right, so let's answer that question. Are you saying the 1041 for the sole proprietor, or are you speaking of the 1040, just to get a clarity?
1040 with the Schedule C.
All right, correct. Yes. So the answer is yes. As long as it's the 1040, yes, you'll use the Schedule C just for the 1040. But for the 1041, no, you wouldn't use the sole proprietorship Schedule C for the 1041, which we'll explain a little bit later about the fiduciary fees. We'll talk about fiduciary fees a little later.
Okay,
So that
thanks.
answers the question on the Schedule C.
All right, perfect. Thanks.
Okay, so any comments or questions on this is where your business actually starts right here or activates. You must put all of your bills, all of your debts, and all of your expenses on this. Has anybody been able to give a testimonial or maybe an experience of what they've done with the Schedule C? That's on the call that want to share their experience about the Schedule C.
You know,
Sorry,
go ahead.
brother. Just very quick. Sole proprietorship, you did as in general, it always means the use of the social security card number. So it is the individual, the legal name, that's the sole proprietor, right?
No, short answer is no. It says the sole proprietorship is a Schedule C. You're not, the individual is just doesn't have a Schedule C on their taxes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just mean in general, what does it mean, the sole proprietorship? What does it mean? Like sole proprietor, there's also sole proprietor business bank account, sole proprietor filing. What does it mean in general?
But this is the origin right here. So let's read what it says. It says use Schedule C 1040 to report income or loss from a business you operated or a profession you practice as a sole proprietor. So that's what it's saying. So you have to actually feel and know that you are practicing business or you actually doing things as a sole proprietor. Which most of the time everyone is actually doing this. We're just not adding our Schedule C on our taxes. Most of the time we're not doing this.
Yeah, okay.
Um,
I think, okay.
I want to give a testimony.
Yes, go ahead, brother.
He giving y'all everything right now. He actually is telling you. I know it took me a while before I realized what he was talking about, but once you go through the process, you're gonna be like, oh my God, he's know what he doing. Stick with him.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it again. Thank you all for your getting help with that. So we got someone else with their hand raised. We got brother Seven with the hand raised, or someone wanting to comment on the Schedule C.
Yeah, I was. Oh, my bad.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead, brother Seven. We got Raymond. He put his hand up. Look like you see his hand.
Appreciate you. Shalom, everybody. I got a testimony about the Schedule C. The sole proprietor, no longer an individual, is able to go ahead and prove that as the brother shown here via the IRS. And my testimony is having gotten a return from the IRS without having any questions, any comments, any concerns. The way that I did it was exactly as this. I was able to go ahead and have the age of majority process completed. So that way, on paper, it proves that any and all expenses that are related to that social security number, account number, is 100% a sole proprietor expense. And it can no longer, and it can never, ever, ever be classified as an individual expense. So then this is solidified when I went ahead and did the 1040, and then I did the Schedule C as is shown here. That way, any and all bills that's attached to that social, a credit card, I did cash expenses too. So I kept all my receipts or all the receipts because I do work in trust. So it's not my receipts. I kept all the receipts that the trust was able to amass through the sole proprietor. And so that way I was able to go ahead and calculate. I did my own bookkeeping. I did all the accounting myself. So that way I could go ahead and count up and add up all the receipts that I did for that entire year. Anything that I did on accounts, anything that I did in cash, any form of transaction that was, able to be recorded. I went ahead and put that on the Schedule C. So that way I was able to prove that all these expenses are within the business realm. And as the IRS recognizes sole proprietors as an unincorporated business that is not, separate from the person itself. So I'm saying this because this further evidence is why you cannot, once you've done the process, you cannot recognize the sole proprietor as an individual. And then when you do the Schedule C, as and others have, the IRS is going to recognize it. My testimony was I went ahead and did the Schedule C through the tax 1099, not tax 1099, my bad, the tax, a free tax USA, my bad, free tax USA. And then I went ahead and did my regular filing. I had an IP PIN information that I had to submit to the IRS. And since I didn't necessarily have the up-to-date IP PIN number, I went ahead and took all the old IP PIN numbers that I had ever gotten. And then I went ahead and printed out this physical copy of the tax filing, so the 1040 and the Schedule C. And then I had some 1099Bs from some crypto trades, not necessarily high trades, but just any kind of withdrawals that I did from the crypto, it generated a 1099B. So I'm saying that because it also go along with this, that I went ahead and filed all the things I needed to file when it came to this, and I did it physically, sent it to the IRS. I did the Schedule C, and I also went and I, under some careful advisement, I was able to go ahead and put that I did retain a small income of $400. Now I was able to prove that that $400 would have been a money order. So, I went ahead and put that there. And what it did was it generated a $33 income tax return. Now, my result was I went ahead and mailed it, and I didn't hear anything from the IRS. I didn't get any kind of, again, questions, nothing. All I got was a check for $33. I have not cashed it because, it's really a testimony. So it's just proof that the Schedule C does work. And now, no one can ever say, oh, well, that's the individual, the social is the individual. Well, no, even the IRS recognizes it. And they recognize it so much that they send me money back to prove it on a money or not a money order, on a treasury check. And that treasury check, as the brother's kind of going to show here, is recognized more as money, lawful currency than Federal Reserve notes. So I'm just providing this testimony because, it's nothing hidden. I don't mind showing it to the public, but this is just proof that, this is legitimate and it's not some, made up scheme or some kind of, private process. This is legitimate what the IRS is saying. And the IRS proved it when they sent me the check and they didn't ask no questions. So that's just my testimony, and I yield the mic.
I just want to add on that he is right. When I did this process, it happened so quickly and so flawlessly. The IRS contacted me, just like he said, they wanted to make sure it was me to get some type of PIN number. I gave him that PIN number. The next notification I got was I had owed them $6,000. They said they took their 6,000 and they would be mailing me a check for $18,000. And this happened within like 3 weeks. It didn't take forever. Right after I filed it, like he said, at freetaxusa.com. And then if you do the rest of the process, like your revocable trust and getting it on the record and certified, and your DBA in your Minnesota, doing business as, get all your ducks lined up, you can't lose.
Absolutely, man. Amazing. That is so true. And I thank you all for the testimony, Brother Seven. That's an amazing testimony. You gave a great deal of knowledge and information just from sharing that. Just your own showing that a lawful currency came to you. You actually received a type of income from, you know, which we say is said to be money. So this is great, man. I love these thoughts and things that everyone is saying. And wanted to see Brother Raymond. I see his hand is raised. Wanted to give him a chance to speak on his point, but I want to go also to our next forum if there are no more thoughts or questions or shares about Schedule C. Go ahead, Brother Raymond.
I'll be real quick, but just like the other gentleman said, I was able to, with your help, I put all my bills that that I had in debt, which was majority of my student loans, from college, and then I had a little, I had the toll from the state of Florida toll, and I owed the bank something because the account closed. And I put all of that on my Schedule C, and the total was like 278,000 or something like that. And on the Free Tax USA, and then I was still able to um, have a tax return that was like $4,000, and I submitted it, and it went through. They took out whatever I owed for wherever I owed it. But as far as everything that I put on the Schedule C, I just stopped receiving the bills. Just fell off. The I called the IRS to ask for a summary so I could kind of see exactly what they did. They never sent it to me, but I never received a bill for those things that I put on the Schedule C up to this day again. I yield the mic.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Hold on. Thank you all. Just want to make sure that his testimonials were great for us all to see where we are on the Schedule C. So, like you say, this is very layered, and we're going to be able to learn more as we go. But just keep going forward as we are learning this. We want to just make sure everybody understands that it's something that you're going to be able to do, and you'll be able to practice this, and it'll get easier and easier as you practice it more. So let's go to our next form. If there's no more testimonials on Schedule C, and our next form is W-9. Apologies, I'm sorry. I had a drink. So the W-9, this is our next form we're going to talk about. It's the W-9 and how you'll be using this to as the taxpayer identification number, as well as the certification. We'll also talk about how you're going to use this form to certify different things for yourself. So this goes right back to the courthouse or any entity that you're going to be dealing with. If you have to pay money, according to the law, you are supposed to deal with the taxes. So this is very important for us. If some of us are new to this, that if you're thinking about court cases, it's the same thing for the court cases. Yes, you're supposed to deal with taxes for each court case. Okay, so any comments or questions on the W-9? I'll read a little bit about it in just a moment. Anyone familiar with the W-9? How have you used the W-9 in the past? Okay, we got someone at a hand. Brother Seven, I see your hand. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yeah, back at it again. Got a lot of testimonies, y'all. So I'm not trying to overhaul the mic, but it's got a lot of testimonies. With this W-9, if you read it carefully, it's very important because some organizations and some persons, artificial persons, they're gonna kind of try to sideblind you, be like, "Oh, you don't need that information." But you know, the IRS says you actually need to have this information if you're gonna do what you're gonna do. So if you read the information on this W-9, the instructions, there's a penalty if you don't do this. And the IRS is actually giving us the authority to conduct business with this certification. And so I'm just, small testimony. We've requested it from landlords, and they've been like, "Oh well, our legal team says, yeah, you don't need that. That's bull crap. IRS doesn't say that at all. So you're just gonna try to override the IRS because you feel like it, or because your attorneys think that. But the IRS clearly says in the W-9 right here, this is what the reasons that would you would be needing to provide that W-9, and you qualify as one of the people that need to provide that. So that's why we're requesting it. I've had the experience of requesting it from the Department of State via email and gotten that W-9 for the state of Florida. I've done it with an apartment complex, and I've had to unfortunately give them a fine because at one point we were doing, conducting good business, but then I came across, I came across doing my business correctly by reading the tax forms, by learning how I'm supposed to operate in business as a sole proprietor, and then how I'm supposed to operate in business as a fiduciary in trust. And then I'm realizing with this form W-9, it's saying, hey, if you finna do business, you gotta get this information so you can do your taxes right. And I'm just trying to comply. So I'm reading it. I'm over here, trying to let these people know that I've done business with. Hey, look, I need your W-9. I need this information so that way I can go ahead and process the taxes properly. Because I've been paying you cash, and have I been paying you cash? I've had all the receipts from our transactions that I'm gonna do, which I have a 1099B on every month that I've done a transaction with you. However, unfortunately, that person, that apartment complex was not willing to provide it. So I had to do what the IRS says here on this W-9 form. It says you got to fine them a penalty of $50 every time you request it, and they don't give it. And so, you request it 10 times, that's $50 times 10. That's what the IRS is saying to do, which means the next thing you got to do is you got to send them an invoice, which now you back in the business. Are you back in the circle of doing business? So it yielded into my mind realizing you provide this W-9 and you're like, hey, I need your information. You're really talking business. And if this almost like a test, if they don't even give you W-9 back in return, are they really legitimate? And then, it makes me think, all right, well, on sunbiz.org, you could look up everybody's EIN for free, publicly. So at that point, why are you giving me any resistance to give me a legal document that I could look up online? If I really needed to go that far. The IRS is saying, when I ask you this, you give me this, and we continue conducting business as normal because I got to do the taxes on this anyways. This ain't your business that I got to do. I got to do my business. So it requires your willingness to stick with it because some businesses will give you the runaround. Some business will make you feel like you don't know what you're doing. Some business are going to be like, oh, let me get my CPA involved because I've seen that happen too. That crap didn't work. That man didn't even contact me when I was threatened with that. Why? Because I'm literally following the directions on the IRS document. So if you got a problem with me following the IRS information, then it sounds like you got a problem with conducting business legitimately because I'm not doing anything abnormal. I'm following the directions to the best of my unprofessionally trained understanding because I'm not a tax professional like the IRS are. I didn't make these IRS documents, they did. So I'm coming in from a third party perspective, learning how to conduct business legitimately. And this is what it's saying. I need a W-9 because this is what you're asking for. You want me to give you money. All right, I'm gonna give you this money that you're asking for because we doing business. But if it's hundreds of dollars, according to what the W-9 says, if it's after a certain amount, I gotta report this. And if you don't want to do business right, then I gotta fine you. I'm not making this up. The IRS says it. So what's the problem? The problem is either you're not trying to do business legitimately, or you just don't know what you're doing. Because now I'm over here trying to do what I gotta do, and you giving me resistance. You give me problems. And like I'm literally reading the instructions, and it's saying to do this, this, and that. But you're telling me no. So y'all just gotta be aware, because you're gonna deal with a form of resistance that is not seen. And that's where you have to learn this. You got to learn the document, you got to read it, you got to know what you're doing. So that way, when you go and present what you're presenting, you're not just reciting someone else's script. You're handling your business as you need to, because this is your private business that requires only you and the person who you're conducting business in between to handle it. But just be aware. It's not impossible, but you will deal with pushback. But hey, you're doing business, and the IRS says if somebody want to give you some crap, cool, because we know this stuff happens. Send them a fine, $50 every single time they do not comply with your request for that W-9. That's it. Yeah, I yield the mic, y'all.
That's amazing, man. I love it. It's a great testimony. I love it. And it is absolutely true. Everything you're saying is if you go into those instructions, you go deep into understanding this. That is something that is a new thing that some of us may not have known. So thank you for that, brother. And this is a great testimonial as well, getting into the W-9. So anybody have any thoughts or questions or any other perspectives to W-9? If not, I'm going to go to our next form and we'll get into our next form.
I was curious, what website did he mention to look up the EIN?
Oh, for Florida, if you want to look up anybody's public EIN, you go to sunbiz.org. That's exactly what the car lots are going to look up. If you're trying to get some kind of car through them and say you got a business, they're going to look up on sunbiz.org and see if you're legitimate. But that's just for Florida. I cannot say for other businesses. I mean, for other states. But that's just the one that I had as an example.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for all your comments and your questions and thoughts. We're all learning. I'm learning myself. I didn't even realize some things as I'm reading through this information. I'm learning too. As we see that what you do is you request it. It didn't say you fight for it. It didn't say you just request it. It's a simple request. So yes, thank you for your testimonial for the pushback, because there is times that you're going to deal with pushback. All right, so let's go to our next form on the list that we have in the chat. So if you all want to know the form, hopefully you all can see the chat. Sometimes the chat erases in the Zoom, but I'll try to put the list on the live chat if I can. So the next one we have is, I'm going to pull this one up. The next one we have is the 1099A. All right, so we're getting into our 1099A. How many of us know about the 1099A? I'm quite sure a lot of us can give good testimonials about each of these forms that are, been practicing and doing these things for the last few years. So I'll read a little bit about it just to kind of give someone a background to a 1099A. So let's go right to the main point. So the main thing, it says a form 1099A deals with acquisition. It means you acquire things. So you may have forgot about something, you acquire it. Next is something abandonment of secured property. So this is something else, maybe a secured property, but you abandoned it. You didn't know that it was there. You forgot about it, and you came back and claimed it. That's abandonment of secured property. So this is your 1099A right here, is the beginning part of understanding a 1099A. Now, this is where it gets very difficult for some of us if we're new to this information. Now, like I say, you have to have a revocable living trust. We're not saying it has to be on the county record. Let's not even go there yet. Let's just say at least you got the revocable living trust and you got it executed. All right, so you can do the 1099A. You should be able to do the 1099A today if you at least got your revocable living trust executed. Now, what's going to happen is this is going to put you in the best position that you have never been in before. And I'm going to read just the first line for you to see what you become. It says file form 1099A for each borrower if you lend money in connection with your trade or business, just like the brother just went over, a whole business perspective, right? This is, wow, look at this, one thing. So this is your money that you're giving out, right, the entire time. So this is why the Schedule C is important for your 1099A. So if you don't have the Schedule C, it's almost like your 1099As are not activated also, just for those who are new to the taxes. So the IRS is looking at all this stuff. They're looking at, hey, how do you even do the 1099A? You have to have the Schedule C involved first. So your Schedule C is important for you to feel that you have been able to even do the 1099A. So any questions or thoughts about the 1099A and what it is used for? I'm not going to read through all the information today. Just wanted to give you all just a understanding of the forms that the IRS is expecting you to fill out.
Yeah, I have a question. So with the 1099A, and you mentioned that, well, I'm reading it right here, right? It says file form 1099A for each borrower if you lend money in connection with your trade or business. So an example, like let's say I have a business and I'm selling some type of products, I would fill out a 1099A for the amount of that product. Is that kind of in the right ballpark?
Well, not necessarily. Like it says, your trade or business, right? Okay, so once you have a revocable living trust, are you not activating the business?
Ah, okay. Okay. I understand.
Makes sense, right?
Right, right.
Now, you won't even feel that you can do the 1099A if you don't have that revocable living trust.
Correct. Got it, because the trust is the business, right?
Correct.
Got it. Okay. Makes sense. Thank you.
Absolutely. Anybody else have any thoughts to this? The 1099A. This may be your first time learning about this form, but this is something that's part of all the funds, all the money that you actually pay out. We're going to say all the money that you pay out the entire year.
So I have a question. If you have already filed 1099As using the sole prop name, but this is before you, and if you use the the straw man's name or the social security card name, and it was approved and accepted by the IRS and showing up in the transcripts, do you now need to correct that 1099A and put it to the, add the name of the revocable living trust to the payor or the lender?
Yeah, I mean, I say the way that you're saying it is that you placed it on the transcripts as a 1099, right?
Yes, and it showed up on the transcripts on the individual taxpayer account.
Correct. But you see where it says the individual, right? So
Exactly.
that's the part where we have to move it from the individual to the Schedule C. So that number will be on the. That's why we say the Schedule C creates the way that you can do the 1099A.
Okay. Okay.
Does
I
that
get
make
I get what
sense?
you're saying. Yeah, yeah, that just thank you.
No problem. No problem. You probably just have to add the Schedule C to your taxes, it seems.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I didn't have to correct all of those A's and B's. So but thank
No,
you for
no, no, no,
clarifying
no.
that.
You have to add all your A's and B's up and place those numbers on your Schedule C.
Got
We're
it.
gonna.
Got it.
That
What a
makes sense.
relief. Yes, thank you.
No problem. No problem. So let's go to the next form since we mentioned the B. All right, so let's go to that one. That's another form that you have to do immediately after you do the A. So some of us are new to the 1099B. This is a famous one that I learned about maybe 5 to 7 years ago. The famous 1099B. Proceeds from broker and barter exchange transactions. Does anyone have any good testimonials about the 1099B that would like to share their thoughts or their experience with the 1099B so far?
I actually had a court case that I had filed a 1099-B on, and I was really surprised to see it show up in my my individual transcripts. And that was pretty exciting because it's a rather large amount.
Interesting. Okay. So that's something that you're saying your courthouse is some way connected to the Internal Revenue Service where they gave that information over to the Treasury?
No, what I did was I filed a 1099-A in the court case, and then I found out all the CUSIP numbers attached to the court case. And then I filed a 1099-B, and then I filed a double B. And
There's
and
only a
the
double B. When you say the double B, it's only okay. You filed one B, and then you filed an additional B, right?
yes, that's exactly what I did.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I just took the 24%, and I believe that that's what we're allowed to claim is a 24%.
Right. Goes back to your W-9 that the brother gave
Yeah,
for the testimonial, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So this is pretty straightforward. I mean, we're reading, some of us may be reading this for the first time. This deals with contracts. It says contracts. So that means all of your mortgage contracts. This can deal with your loans, your auto loans. You have a loan, that's a contract. A lease agreement, landlords. That's right. I had to do a 1099-B for my landlord. If you have a landlord, we're gonna call it like it is. This is what we have to do. If you're going to think about we're gonna say the exchange of your cash. So anybody have questions on this 1099-B aspect as well? Because it could be just the money that you put in that you're trying to get back. Okay, so that goes from the 1099-B. Let's go to our next form. Let's say I did all these things and none of this stuff worked out, and I'm getting pushback and it's still not going through. Like myself, I did the 1099-B on my court case, but maybe I sent it to the wrong place. I'm actually learning I sent it to the wrong person if I went back to my 1099-B. All right, so our next form we're going to go to is 3949A. Form 3949A. This is your first time filling this form out. We'll talk about Form 3949A. I'll explain this for your social. This will be only for the social. Go ahead. We got a hand raised. Bobby Grice. That's your hand. I see your hand. Go ahead.
Bubba. Yeah, do you hear me?
Yes, we hear you well.
Oh, okay, perfect. So I just wanted to know, could you maybe talk more about the topic that you used the text form for your lease agreement for the rent payments?
Right, absolutely. So this is that form, the 1099A and the 1099B is used for contracts. It's used for agreements. So you want to use that as a form that you give to the landlord. Let's say you have a lease agreement and it says the total amount for the whole year. You want to go ahead and file your taxes for the entire year for the lease agreement, right? Rather than thinking of month by month, we're supposed to think of year by year. So that's the way they have us. They have us doing this month by month payments for a lot of things, but we're going to change that. We're going to change the month to month to year to year. Is that making sense, everybody? Does that add up to like a
Oh yeah,
perfect way?
completely.
Okay.
Yes. It's just you would go this route when you have proper standing with the IRS and your trust is everywhere on file and recognized.
Well, as long as you have that revocable living trust, we're saying today in your hand, right? So it's just executed revocable living trust.
Yes.
Right. So that's all you need right now.
So you would say to do those filings, you would not need the proper standing with the IRS to be recognized as fiduciary, not in a minor status?
Well, that revocable living trust instrument does that for you.
I gotcha.
You see,
Okay, I
so
understand.
so now we're filling these forms out. So now we're on the next form right now. We're talking about 3949A is another form. So does that add up to what you're doing? You're filling out all those forms that we listed today.
Yep.
All right. All right. So let's keep going, you all. Anybody have thoughts or questions so far as well? Based upon that, what you're asking about the landlord or the lease agreements.
I've got a question right right now, I mean, I've got the EIN for the revocable living trust, and it says to file taxes by the 22nd. So I am attempting to do 22, 23, 24, and 25 by that time, and to get everything in preparation. Right now, I feel like everything is on fire, and I'm just running as fast as I can towards this initial goal. And I've also sent out to the Social Security Administration, the IRS, and 2 attorney generals of the states, and done as much durable power of attorney stuff as I possibly can to position myself. And I just delivered as well on one of my court cases a certified copy of the revocable living trust. And my question is, how is this supposed to look moving forward? I mean, the rest of the year is still going to be here, and I'm going to hopefully acquire another automobile and some land. I'm more curious on like that process. What should we expect when the fire is out, so to speak, and we have this? Because it feels like it's a lot right now. So I'm just curious, after the 22nd, when I file it 1099 A or B, whichever it is, like, does that process that day, the next day? Do we get funds 6 months later? I guess I don't know what it looks like after we file all this stuff, because I haven't seen it. So um,
Absolutely. So that's a great question. So let's go slowly into what's going on with the forms and the documents. I may look at it from the perspective that we're saying we're filing your taxes for a specific year. So this takes you up to a year to really go through everything, right? So you have to go through January of whatever year that you're talking about to December. So for instance, we're going to start with, let's say, for instance, 2024. Somebody can file 2024 right now. Let's say you have already filed 2024, you can do an amended return. Or if you need to file 2024, you can just file it today. So that's the way it looks for 2024. 2025, you can't just do the 1099As or the Bs if the case started in 2025 because this pending 2025 isn't over yet. So that's why they say December 31st, that's when they get into their new fiscal year. So a lot of us are learning about the new year. It's not even really about the new year like that. It's about the new fiscal year. Or sometimes you say their fiscal calendar is different, but we're just going to use this as an example of the new fiscal year. But I hope that helps with the understanding of when those results will happen. It'll happen after December 31st. If it's 2025, if it's something in the past, you can do 2024 right now. Then you can go back and do 2023 after 2024 is processed. And then you do 2023, get 2023 processed. And then you go to 2022 and so on. Any questions on how you're supposed to go backwards into doing your tax returns?
Yeah, I have a question about that. Or yeah, you could go first.
no, I was just going to say thank you.
No problem. Thank you as well. Thank you for those questions. Go ahead, Rajah, with your question.
Yeah, my question was, so you said going backwards. So for example, it's the year is 2025 now. So if I only lived in, let's say, in an apartment for the year 2025, I would have to wait till next year to do the 1099 A's and B's on those, for like the lease and stuff.
You have to wait till after December 31st to process the A's and the B's. That's correct. For 2025. Yes. It's not going to instantly go anywhere. If you owe money right now, don't expect the 1099s to get you out. That's why we tell people to file them early so that you can process them. They'll be processed first. But yeah, they may not process the A's and the B's until like January next year, maybe middle January. I think that'll tell you, the software will tell you that it won't process until January, just for those who are new to this. So yes, the 2025 A's and B's are not going to go through as fast as we think of so far.
Okay. No, that's understandable. I was just wondering, um, if it was going to be something that, and when you say 31st, you're talking about 31st of 2025, right?
Correct. Yes,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah, that day has to come before those A's and B's are fully processed in their system, we're going to say.
Got it.
So it takes
Got it.
time.
Because,
Yes.
yeah, no problem.
Yeah. So this isn't
Okay.
something that say we're in the midst of something, like for instance, we owe money, or
Hmm.
it may be an eviction, it may be a foreclosure, it may be a repossession. It's a chance that you may need to stall that until next year. So that may be some type of recoups of things that we're trying to do will come in, and then you can use those funds to pay off those types of debts, which we'll get into. What some of these forms are going to help you all realize that some of those things are going to stop them anyway, because did they file the taxes for you in 2024? That's the next question we're going to ask people. Did the courthouse or did any people send you tax forms in 2024? Did anyone send you a W-9 in 2024?
Mm.
1099s. Anybody got any 1099s in 2024? All
I
right.
did.
So go ahead. Somebody got one?
Yeah,
Tell us the example of one that you received in 2024.
that was for the court case.
Yes, you mentioned that. So you got a 1099-B back from the court case, right?
Yes, I did.
Perfect. So for that situation, that will be for you being a plaintiff or a defendant.
Defendant.
Okay, got it.
But
Now,
I also filled out a 3949, and I also filed an SEC complaint. So there's some other stuff I did as well, because I wanted to make sure that the IRS had notice that I was going after my share of, my interest share in the case. So, and I also sent them, I also CC'd them all the letters to the clerk and to the judge. So there was a lot of notices that were sent.
got you. So you actually said the 3949A, what we're speaking of right now, which is
Oh,
on.
heck yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I also filed a SEC criminal complaint against them as well.
And this is the court case, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Correct. Yeah, so that is important that we're seeing the 3949A used as well for maybe those cases. I would say some people may say, hey, what I'm dealing with a case. 3949A is something that we're seeing you can fill out online now. Part of the process when you're doing the clerk. I think some of us are talking about the clerk process. Then you also have the what's the other process? The one with the Social Security office.
I haven't done that one yet, but that's something I intend on looking into. So yeah, if you can remember that, that'd be great.
No problem. That's so I'm looking at this right here, the 3949A information referral. This is something that we'll have to look into more, but this is going to say the individual, just to kind of give you all, it's the Social Security number that goes on this form. Right. If it's a business, it's another form. It's not the 3949A. That'll be 3949B if you all see 3949B. So that'll get us out of the 3949A. So anybody have any questions or thoughts before we close from 3949A? This will help you with your court cases. If you know that someone has not given you the taxes right here. Let me show you where it says right here. Here it goes. Failure to file tax return. There you go. That's everybody, right?
They also may want to fill out the 211 as well and submit that with the 3949A.
Oh, 211?
Yes.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. So let's type that in 211. Then I'll jump into another form we'll go to next. That's your whistleblower award. Oh, yes, I remember this form.
That's a nice bounty hunter form.
I see right here. So the whistleblower office is another form for award. I can see that too. All right, so let's go to the next one that I wanted to make sure that you can see that you can have the power to do all this anyway. So that next form on the list we have is 2848. So let's go to 2848 for a moment.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead. We have a question by Alicia.
When you were doing the court documents, did you, or anybody, did you request them to provide the 1099 and the W-9, or how did you get that from them? Did they just send it to you, or did you request it?
You know, I went through a lot with them. You know, I had requested their W-9s. And it was denial. I mean, to this day, I even talked to the clerk and I said, listen, I really need to get your W-9, and I really need to get the bill of costs. It's the AO 133, because my intent was to, file my 1099 A's and B's. And it was just denial. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. So then I just went to sending them letters, and then I sent a W-9 request and tax 1099. I just didn't stop. I didn't quit. And so then I kept sending IRS notices. I sent the 3949 in. And I reported on the 3949. I did an attachment explaining that that they're not cooperating with me. I'm trying to, settle all these matters. I'm trying to, get the information so I can, do my returns. I just filed so what I did was I filed the 1099A, I filed the 1099B online, and then I did the second B. And then I got the 1099B in the mail. So I don't know. I mean, I was shocked. I was surprised to get it, but I got it. And, it could have been that, because they can get audited. If you send in a 3949 in, they could get audited. I mean, it's a big deal. It's a free audit that you're giving them. Hey guys, you know what? I'm going to give you a free audit from the IRS. Thank you very much. But on my B's, I listed all of the CUSIP numbers that were attached to the case, and it wasn't just one case. I found 3 case numbers from one case. They were doing case numbers, without me knowing about it. But you just have to, you have to know where to look.
Wow. So that's basically in the testimonial to show the court case itself is something that you want to focus on as well. So that's a good point.
There's a lot of money in court cases. I mean, it's your payday. It's literally your payday. Mine. I mean, I'm just saying right now that, I mean, if you want me to tell you the amount, I will. But if it's not,
No, you don't have to disclose the amount. You can just say
yeah,
that it's a good amount.
it
So feel
is.
free not to disclose that publicly. We'll
But I
say.
just want people to know that if you've had, the court cases, and if you had gone to prison and they've put you through the ringer like that, it's payday. I'm just saying, it's a big payday. And if you report it, to the SEC and the IRS, and also, the U.S. Treasury, the Inspector General, I let everybody know that I'm going after my payday, and I got what I put in,
Mm-hmm.
and I got what I asked for, so they didn't reduce it or anything. I got what I asked for.
Correct. So what made you feel confident? Did you go into the next form that we're going to be talking about, the 2848? But did that answer the question for the other person? I think Alicia, did she get the question answered based upon that answer
Yes,
that you
thank you.
responded? Okay,
Yeah, yes, thank
no problem. No problem. Yeah, so the 2848, we're going to talk about that for a moment too, because that's another form that you need to fill and to declare your representation. So you got power of attorney and declaration of representative. That's another form that you want to have that's sent to the IRS that you filled out, and you have done this through the revocable living trust. We also have your social, because you want to have as less pushback as possible, like you're explaining, by having these things pre-filled and sent over to the entities. So does anybody have any thoughts or questions on the 2848? And then we'll go into our next form. Okay, so we have our 3949A that we say that goes with your court cases. You also have the 2848 that you'll be sending over to the Treasury or the IRS. Next is your 13909. So I know we mentioned one of the forms I think she mentioned was 211. Someone mentioned that form, but we're going to go to form 13909. That's another form that you may not be privy to, but that's a tax exempt organization complaint. If some form of whatever they have an electronic way of doing that, you'll be able to fill out that information in real time for the tax exempt organization. Usually that EIN is required for you to fill that out in real time from the Treasury. And you'll also get that reward that we saw earlier that you spoke of the 211 if you fill those forms out also. Not to overload or convolute the whole thing, we're just going to go into what the IRS expects you to do. So these are basic forms according to the IRS. They want you to know these forms to fill out at any time you're dealing with your name. So these are the nonprofit organizations. These are the examples of the ones you'll fill out your complaints. And the other ones will be more of a for-profit. So you got your for-profit and you have your nonprofit. Yeah, 3949A is like more of a for-profit. Okay, so let's go to our next form. Next form we have is Form 56. Form 56. And we have one more form. That'll be our last form for today. Form after this form right here. Can't see anything. Okay, let's go to this Form 56. Here we go. So Form 56 is your notice concerning fiduciary relationships. So that goes right into the fiduciary that we talked about last time. And I'll go into a little bit of a segue to the fiduciary to show that once you have this form right here, you'll be getting into the revocable living trust. So we use the trust EIN with the Form 56. We don't use the social. You don't use the social with the Form 56. You don't need to use the social for the Form 56. What'll happen is you'll have your revocable living trust on the form and you'll have your social there as the fiduciary. So we'll break that down for you all later, but we can't go into the form, filling this form out today because it's too convoluted for us to try to break it down in one session. But we do know that this is your notice concerning your fiduciary, that a lot of people say giving them notice. This is your notice. All right, so you can give this notice through the revocable trust instrument that we went over earlier. And you also give this notice to the Treasury or the IRS that you are now the fiduciary of a revocable living trust.
May I add something
Oh, feel
to the
free.
56 form? The difference between the 56F and the 56 is Internal Revenue Code 6402. And that is, and if you look on top of the 56, you're going to see that they list 2 codes on the 56. They list 3 codes on the 56F. And what I did was I created an affidavit to attach to the 56 form that gives me the authority to use the Internal Revenue Code 6402, which is that allows you a general refund authority to get your refunds. And some people are already getting the refunds, but if you add that code 6402, that includes general refund authority and credits against your estimated taxes. They also allow offset for past due child support, and they also allow an offset for federal debts. So I believe that may be an important factor when you're doing your 56 form, is to add the 6402.
That's great. Yep. That's
Okay.
good note. So we take note of that section that you're speaking of is 6402.
Yes, 6402. It's IRC 6402.
Gotcha. Perfect. So we'll take note of that. You'll be able to write letters because we know with your 56, you have to explain on the lines. They'll say to put other information. So that's good and correct when you go into filling out the forms. So that is part of the trust instrument. So a lot of us are seeing where you get your fiduciary documents connected to. You're going to connect it to your revocable living trust. You also get an EIN for that same revocable living trust. Now let's segue a little bit. Let me segue before I go to the last form. I want to segue over to how it looks whenever you're going to get access to the credits. Let me show you how it looks, for instance, on the screen. All right, so a lot of the credits are going to be accessed through this software that we call Tax Act. So if you're going to go through the full process of taking the 1099s, you're going to have to go through this process right here to get an EIN. And it says if the trust does not have an EIN, it must apply for one on Form SS4, Application for Employer Identification Number. See Publication 583, IRS Publication 583. Starting a business and keeping records for more information. Okay, so this right here shows you the rules that it goes to the EINs, and you actually having that EIN makes sure you have a business according to the federal or pretty much the law. It tells you right here in IRS Publication 583, the minute that you have the EIN document, you now have a business. Another thing that you have to realize as well is that if you have the EIN and it's new, it says the EIN must be received at least 4 weeks prior to e-filing the return. So if you try to file the taxes within 4 weeks, the IRS is going to kick it back and they're going to say there's an error because the EIN is not in their system yet. So you want to give the system maybe about maybe 6 weeks. We like to say just make sure that it's over 6 to 7 weeks so that your EIN is broken into the system. Any questions on the EIN? If you just grab the EIN and how old the EIN needs to be in order for you to begin to file the tax returns on the EIN. Okay, so some of the ways the EIN is going to be filed is going to get you to the point where you can receive the refund, which I'll get into in just a moment about the refunds and how this looks. Okay, so this is an example right here. I'm going to give you all an example how you can walk through the TaxAct software really fast. So I think this is in the video or a short video. Maybe it does move around. But just watch the video and it should show you how to navigate through the software as quick as possible when you're doing the trust. So as you see, you're going to have to deal with your basic information. Next, with the investment income, you're going to go into a specific segment of that. You're going to go into your gains or losses. That's where you get your 1099B. So a lot of us are trying to ask, where do I put the 1099B? You put it here on the 1041. You also put your 1099Bs on your 1040. So this is where we say use the software. And the software is going to guarantee that this works because they're going to scan it. They're going to make sure there's no errors. And then once this goes through, more likely your check is going to be generated through the Treasury software. This is only for example only, for illustration and example purposes only. So we're not telling you all to use any of the numbers that you may see. It's for entertainment purposes only and examples only. All right, so for instance, someone had fiduciary fees. Maybe their bills was $31,000 the whole year. This is an example of what we were saying earlier. That could be what you have for a whole year of bills that you have to pay. Okay, so you got your credits. You also get fuel tax credit, which we'll talk about how you're only able to do that with a revocable living trust. They will reject your credits and say that you're not supposed to use it unless you're a farmer or you're some type of person, but we've learned that you have to choose the correct location for the tax credits back for the gas. So that is another way that you're supposed to receive credits back from the government, is through the fuel tax credits, which we'll talk about in later times. So that's it right here. So once you go through the EIN process of the revocable trust, you'll notice that's where the money's coming from as well. I like to say every time you put gas in your car, think of dollars going inside the gas tank. So it's like if it's $1 going into the gas tank, that's how much gas went into the car. If I put $20 in, that's how much cash I'm supposed to get back. That's the way you're supposed to think of the gas. The next thing is you're thinking about is the cases. Maybe you have a court case. Maybe you have bills or something that you may have to pay. You have invoices. All these things work for the 1099B. And what makes it so great, nobody loses. It's not like you're taking money from someone. Any questions on this? This may be a good example for somebody to see, why do I want to do the revocable trust? This was back in 2020. We started this information to show you how to go through this process as quick as possible.
I'm curious if you've dove into ID.me. I know that they've got places where you can upload 1099s and do those processes. Have you done that? And if not, are you planning on going over that later or sometime?
Thank you for that. No, we don't actually get into the ID.me. That's a whole nother process in itself that'll go into your power of attorney with your identification. But for today, we're just focusing mainly on the taxes, how you get the refunds back, which we'll speak on the banking in just a moment as well. Next, we're going to get to your private banking. Let me stop sharing. Any questions on the software right here as well? I want to make sure I got everyone's question in. I'm going to go to our next diagram. Okay, so that is the tax summary. Wow, now it's loading, taking a long time to load. All right, so while that thing is loading, hopefully it'll stop loading. I can pull up the next screen. Nope, it's not going to stop loading. All right. Let me go to this then for now. All right, so through all this, I want to make sure I go through the biblical principle once you go through this trust as well. Since I'm skipping over a lot of things, I want to make sure I got to this point. So I'll go to this biblical principle as an example if I can get this part to stop loading in just a few. But we're going to go right to the biblical principle found here in Proverbs 15:6. And this is going to get you right into where this information is coming from for the revenue. And you see the income or the revenue. So when it says this in the King James, I think it's another version that it talks about, where it tells you about the revenue of the wicked. So this is a good biblical principle of why you're actually separating yourself from the individual side, and you're getting yourself over into the revocable living trust. The revocable living trust activates the sole proprietor as well. So this takes you into that part where the treasury of the house is also maintained through the biblical principle. As I read through a few of the persons, places, and events that happen as we deal with cash, money, or even revenue. So you have the righteous. In the context of Proverbs, the righteous are those who live according to God's laws and principles. They're characterized by integrity, wisdom, and fear of the Lord. The wicked, it says, refers to those who live in opposition to God's ways. They're often depicted as deceitful, unjust, and self-serving. The house, symbolically, the house represents the life and legacy of a person. It encompasses their family, possessions, and overall well-being. Here we go. So that's your revocable living trust. Goes right into the 3, where your house is being maintained on your foundation. So your revocable living trust also plays as a foundation for your house. We'll even say your household. Let's say you don't have a house built yet, but you may build a house in the future. Your household is maintained. Next is your treasure. So your treasure comes next. So the reason you're getting the treasure is because of your household. So you can't get the treasure and you don't have the household. So it says in biblical terms, the treasure often signifies not just material wealth, but also spiritual riches, such as peace, joy, and wisdom. So very, very good, important part that you get with your treasure. And that treasure will also be maintained continually because you'll have peace with your treasure and so on. And last but not least is 5, is trouble. So trouble is also part of the process. If we're going to say there's a process, there's going to be trouble. And these things happen throughout us being caught up in this system, not understanding how to deal with our tax forms, whatever that is. We're going to say that's where I believe the trouble usually comes in. This refers to the consequences of living life contrary to God's will, which we understand God's will is the revocable living trust, that we're learning more about the will of God that God gave us. He gave us this will, but we have to actually activate the will. So it's a physical, mental, and spiritual thing we're learning, even if we're getting into why you have to have the revocable living trust, which can include turmoil, strife, and ultimately judgment, right? So going right into the court cases, we can be judged being in the world, but by having our revocable living trust, this can ultimately get us out of that judgment. As we see, we got testimonials from a few people speaking of their cases and how this is true. Once you have this revocable trust, you may be able to overcome that case. If you're dealing with strife, let's say you're dealing with family issues, you're dealing with the issues of possessions and land and money, bank accounts and banks and businesses, all this stuff, right? There's strife because somebody feel like they're supposed to get certain parts and they equal share and so on. So this trouble comes in when you're outside of the trust. The trust makes trouble. I mean, without the trust, it makes trouble, we'll say. Next is turmoil. As you see, we're going backwards and going into the turmoil. As we know, we're always going through turmoil based upon dealing with the day-to-day life with, we'll say, cash flow or trying to get access to more money. So that is the trouble that I was going to go into as we see part of these persons, places, and events that happen to us as we go through the revocable trust principles with the principle that we see right here in Proverbs 15:6. Now I'll read it right here again. For those the first time you've ever heard of this principle, we like to use the Bible as a money and banking book. I know it may sound interesting, but we do use it as a money and banking book as well because there's principles that show you how to deal with money as well as dealing with banking, which we'll speak on later on as we get into the banking system. So it says, the house of the righteous has great treasure, but the income of the wicked is trouble. That's right. So this is very distinctive. It says the income. So we're not supposed to think of the income. We're more supposed to think of how we're supposed to get the returns, right? So income and return are two different things, which we'll get into later about the returns. The house of the righteous has great treasure. So this means your treasure is your treasury, and you're going to be able to put your house in the correct connection with the treasury, right? You know, so this is important. We're seeing this principle even laid out about treasure. But the income of the wicked is trouble. So the income, as we see, if you're in the income column, this puts you in the individual column. This puts us in the individual column. So they put us in the column of, we'll say that the government actually does this. They put us in the column of which we'll say the wicked, the ones that are in trouble. Because if we don't file our taxes a certain way, they're going to put you in a bad situation, which we understand this occurs all the time. Right? Even the best of us, if we say that we're trying our best to be on the best side of the income. So that's our biblical principle. I wanted to tie into this whole situation as I get into more examples. I see that my diagram actually stopped showing for a moment. I was trying to see why I didn't load yet. Okay, we got a comment or a question. I see a hand raised. Feel free as I try to get this diagram to show. Thank you. I see Brother Seven. I seen your hand raised. Feel free to share your thoughts.
Yes, brother. As another biblical principle, or just another principle here that's found in the Biblios, that could be brought to mind that the Most High had wanted us to decide on with the free choice that we each have, which ties to the living revocable trust. You got to think outside the box here for a moment. So in the scripture, it does say something about, if you can look it up, where the Most High says that he gives us the choice to choose the path of life or death. And he tells us he wants us to choose life. Now, that scripture came to mind because when we look at the structure of the revocable trust per the IRS, and in general per existing, the revocable trust was recognized as the inter vivos, or as we know, that is a Latin term for, or the Latin phrase for in between the living. So if we're dealing with a tax classified structure that does exist, okay, and this is the only type of structure as we recognize in the IRS system, that the IRS says that the revocable trust, being a simple trust, is the only trust structure type that requires it to get rid of all of the kind of income and distribute it to its, beneficiaries, basically. So this goes along with your point here about in Proverbs where operating in trust automatically kind of takes you out of that, and then specifically operating in the revocable living trust. Now back to the point of where the Most High said he wants us to choose life over death. As we know, dealing with artificial persons or juridical persons or fictitious persons or strawmen, as is also colloquially known, but all these other terms that they legally, lawfully recognize and have legal definitions behind are all fictions or, basically imaginations that are fueled by, our agreement that it exists. And so with that being the case, these are all structures that operate in a form of a corporate capacity if they're not operating directly with the literal living revocable trust or the inter vivos trust. And why I'm bringing this up is because the trust puts everybody in the mindset of, we're dealing with beneficiaries. We have, trustees and we have a grantor. The grantor being the Most High, where he knows all things, he knows the best path for all things in all formats. And then us as his beneficiaries are able to benefit from this tremendous trust that he's allowed us to be in, which is existing. And, existing in a format, unfortunately, some have chosen the path of death, where the results of that cause harm and pain onto oneself. Not saying that, everyone is do that, because sometimes people, get hurt from not trying to cause pain to themselves. But the point that I'm making here is that when you operate within the trust realm, you have the ability to choose the path of life, literally, which is the only one path, which ironically, Yeshua or Jesus in the scripture said that, there's only one path, to everlasting life. And if we kind of look at this from the alignment path of where we see all these legal structures, tax structures, scriptural, spiritual paths kind of align in this format, we do see that when we operate in the soul prop, we take back the presumption that we are an artificial entity, because now we are not, operating as a strong man in that sense where they have the custodian power. Because now we're showing that we have the ability to do business with a sound mind. And then we have this power of attorney, which they recognize under the Uniform Powers of Attorneys Act, which the IRS also has a form to recognize it. So we're now showing to them that we have the mental capacity to operate with power, doing business. And then when we do the IRS form, where we're getting into the trust, as you've shown here, we're getting into the living side. We're setting aside operating within the fictional dead side as a base where we stay in. And what further proves that is that when people go and get a house, they get a mortgage. And when you take the term mortgage and you break it down into its root term, mort means death and gage means pledge. So everybody who has a mortgage in their name literally has a death pledge in their name. And then this ties to your social or your sin, because in Canada it's SIN, so your sin. And so it ties to your personal sin that you have a death pledge. And so you pledge yourself to death instead of choosing to operate within the living revocable realm, which is a trust, which is an inter vivos trust, which is what they recognized it before. And that literally takes us out of having to be processed through the probate realm, as we all recognize. So I'm pointing these things out because in the very scripture, in the word, it does mention where the Father's given us the opportunity to choose. You know, I'm giving you this choice here. You could choose life or death. I want you to choose life. And you know what? Just to make it easier for everyone to understand, I have this thing in the world that you recognize. It's called trust. And then there's a living trust. It's the only one out of all these other structures that I can let you know that is only that they recognize as living. All these other things are dead. You know, they're corporate. They don't really exist like the way that the living do. So I'm just seeing how all these things align within the scripture and how they align with taxes, because then you're no longer dealing with tax liability because in the trust realm, now you've gotten rid of all the quote unquote forms of income that you could have had. So now there's no income to tax. Now you're not hiding anything. Now you've dispersed all the all the things to the beneficiaries that you're supposed to do per the structure of the trust. So, it literally aligns you when you operate within the living revocable trust 100% with what the Father wants you to do, which is choose life over death. But I yield the mic. Thank
Absolutely, absolutely. That's great. That's good. That's good testimonial into that too, and that's some great knowledge. I was actually listening to what you were saying. I was thinking about the wages of the Social Security number. It reminds me of that script that says the wages of the SSN, the wages of the Social Security number, like the wages of the sin. Is there a Bible scripture that says the wages of sin? I think I remember hearing that before.
The wages of sin is death.
Yeah.
That's what it say in the Bible.
Wow. See? Look at that. The wages of sin. Look at that. Like, wow, that pops right up. Romans 6:23. Mm. And brother brought up the death pledge, the mortgage. Wow, man, this is some stuff right here. They never lied to us actually.
And it's sin the social security number.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, sin.
That's
That's
right.
right.
Absolutely, y'all. So we going into it. We want to just make sure it's making sense together with all of us. We're going through all the knowledge together at the same time. So let me go back to that diagram I was trying to show just a moment ago. See if I can share the screen. So I went over, and I'll be closing us out very soon. How you'll get to the part where you're going to be able to get the treasury. So you're going to get the treasury checks through filing your 1040s and 1041s. You're going to use the revocable living trust. The whole purpose of you doing all those forms and doing all these things is so that you can get to the simple tax return. Like the brother mentioned, the simple tax return. So when you do the trust, make sure you always select simple. Don't do the complex trust. The complex trust is like the irrevocable trust and all those different trusts that are said to be complex. So we focus on only the simple trust. Just for those who are new to this and you're getting into the software and you're trying to learn how to work around in the software. All right, so now I'm going to get you to the nitty gritty of some of the forms and examples that we have been able to do right here. So some of the topics I'm going to get you right into is the United States Tax Court. United States Tax Court is very important for you to know that this is a Article 1 court. So by you doing processes with taxes, this brings you into one of the highest courts. So Article 1 tribunals are federal court organized under Article 1 and so on. It goes back to the example, the brethren, we went into how you have to have the trust EIN in order to fill the way to do this lender 1099A. The only way to file correctly is with a trust identity number. All the past before this is leading many into fraud or destruction. So, right, so that goes into what the other part of destruction can mean is the fraud. They'll say that what we're doing is wrong and it's against their corporate laws. Right, so we got to be careful with the filings of these forms in the way that we've been taught in the past. The only way that we've seen that has worked 100%, no kickback, is your revocable living trust. So just bringing out these types of understandings as much as possible before we get into the good part where we show you the cash, we show you the checks that we have been able to accomplish, and we're still working on getting more accomplishments, which is not even that much funds. We're going to go into how a lot of these funds are not even that much because you're supposed to be paying off your debts for the entire year. So the money doesn't even sit on you that long. It's not even supposed to even be there. Okay. So next is, oh, there we go. It froze again. Can't even get that to stop. So it's just froze. I was going to get to our next screen, but then we have to force quit it and try to get it to show up again. Okay, let me close that window. Maybe that's the reason why it keeps doing that. Here we go. So this is an example of what you're going to get to eventually. The goal is for you to get to this example right here. And that example is the treasury check. So if this is your first time receiving a treasury check, this is how it'll look if you receive it in the mail. All right, so when you inspect it, you will make sure that it's coming directly from the United States Department of the Treasury, Bureau of the Fiscal Service. Most of the time, if you're using a trust, this is the only way they send you the check. If it's a 1040, you can get the check in the mail. If it's an amended tax return, or if it's an electronic e-file, they'll do it by direct deposit. So for those who want to know how that works for the 1040, it can be direct deposit as well as receiving a treasury check in the mail. Any questions or thoughts so far on how the treasury checks look, how they show up, and how you're expected to get this to fund the trust? Any questions or thoughts so far how the trust is actually funded? All right, so let's go right to the next diagram. Some of the court cases, we'll get into that, how if it's not the right name or the right information, you can return the sender. That's not the process we're going to be talking about today. Got into your Form 56 notice concerning fiduciary relationship. I'm going to show you how you're supposed to use the software to give notice. And I'm going to tell you all these things that we've been doing in the past where we're sending the 56 in the mail, faxing it to the courthouse, all these things. Really, the 56 is supposed to go to the Treasury. So we're going to show you your fiduciary relationship is with the Treasury, and then they're going to enforce your power over the courts, the the courts, the local government, and so on. This is your evidence here that the Form 56 is actually on the software. Okay, so as you can see, when you go through this process, you will get a pass alerts. That means that if you did something wrong, the software will tell you and you will have to do it right. And until you do it right, you can't go forward and actually send in to get the refund or the check from the Treasury. So we want to make sure when you're using the software, it is designed to make sure that you're doing all the right answers, and it has to make sense to you, because if you had to explain it to somebody, make sure you know that you're explaining yourself when you're actually getting access to these funds. All right, so any questions about the software that we use? We go through all the process of walking you through this software if you're not privy to this or you're not a master at using this software yet. We also get into the Treasury Direct account for those who don't need the banking system. go through that Treasury Direct account authorization that you will also need. A lot of people are not going through the whole process. We know that there's layers, but we go through every single layer because we want to make sure that you fully have access to your Treasury account, which we're saying you're going to get access to the Treasury first. Then we'll get you into the banking system because the banking system can be very tricky. We don't want you all to think your money's coming from the banks or coming from the loans or the grants or all these other things that we think the money comes. All right. So any questions or thoughts about the Treasury Direct account, which we'll also go over with your trust having as well. As you see, these are types of EINs. Go ahead. We have somebody on the mic.
Yeah, are we to set up the TDA accounts for their trust now or to wait until we have those checks? What's the timeline for that?
Well, everything connected is, as long as you have the EIN, you're able to connect all of your dots. So that's what connects to your dots is your EIN for your revocable living trust. Does that add up?
Yeah, so I could sign up for the TDA account right now and not wait. That's what I agree. So
Correct. Yeah, you don't have to wait. You can do everything with the EIN. It's every day, Monday through Friday, we like to say you should be communicating, creating new accounts with your EIN. Yes. So short answer is yes. You can go online and you should be able to open up that account with the trust. As you see on this screen right here, the trust, you're going to select the same thing when you're on the TDA account. You don't use the individual or the sole prop. You're going to use the trust for those who are new to the TDA accounts as well. Treasury Direct accounts. We like to say the full name. We don't like to say TDA because we had a lot of different processes in the past that people got locked up for when they were saying they were accessing the TDA account and cashing out their birth certificates. We don't do that. We don't have a process that can cash out your birth certificate into your TDA account. Just to put that out there for a disclaimer.
I know when I signed up for the Treasury Direct account as the individual, I was required to associate a bank account in within a certain amount of time. Is that also the case with setting up a Treasury Direct account?
Short answer is no. The Treasury Direct account using the trust will open up same day. So this is a same day opening account when you're using the trust. If you're using the individual side, it will give you a block. They will want to verify identity. So yes, you're right. If you open the individual Treasury Direct account, yes, there will likely be a block. Just to put that out there. All right. So I hope that answers that question. And going into the Treasury Direct accounts and the type of EIN that you'll need to access that account. Okay, let's get next to when you're getting the access to the funds. I just showed you where the money or the funds are coming from. Just for those who are getting new to this, this is where the funds are coming from, right here. So this is my Exhibit A I'm using for today, Exhibit A. Went through a few other exhibits. I'm going to show you how I've been able to transform those into credits. So you can transform that treasury check in lawful currency into any form that you want. So I'm just giving you all examples how it looks to me and how it should look to you. It's the same thing. You use the same EIN. You file for a tax return. You get a treasury check, right? You take the treasury check. What are you going to do next? Any questions on any strategies anybody want to give out? And we'll close this week and I'll get into some more details for the banking. Any strategies one wants to get into for when you get the treasury check? What would you do with it?
Well, you have to make sure that your bank account is in the name of the exact name that's on the check and the correct EIN, because you can't deposit it into a personal account.
Correct. That is correct. So let's say that I'm skipping banks right now. So we're not even dealing with the banking system. Let's say that I just only have a Treasury Direct account, right? What if I don't want to deal with a bank? Right? What is my option then? What would you do if you don't
Go to
want
the
to take
post
the bank?
office.
Okay, so your brother say you'll take the treasury check to the post office, okay? Do you think they'll change it out, possibly? I don't know. I never tried that. Anybody else have any thoughts to where you would take the treasury check other than the bank?
A pawn shop.
There we go. That's a great one. A pawn shop. Anybody else? Any other locations?
The casino, they got a bunch of money.
Nah, that's a good one. I didn't think about that one. If they say they cash treasury checks, then check the wall. See if they say they cash treasury checks. Okay.
They full of money.
All right. Hey, we're just going into some alternatives to some of us who are still thinking you may need the banking system. So we're going to overcome the banking system as well with the revocable living trust. So in the event that you don't have a bank account, we're going to still be able to get access to the funds. Any other places that maybe you have a treasury check that you may be able to cash this check? Anybody else have any thoughts or places you can do this?
I mean, because you could take it to the Capitol building in your state, like the Secretary of State or the Comptroller.
No. They don't cash checks at the comptroller. They don't have cash there. I'm in the capital of Florida and they don't have cash in those buildings.
Yeah, I didn't know, but
Just think. Let's all think. Let's think of ourselves as a barter and exchange person. Like we're gonna get cash this time. We're not thinking about the banking system. How would you all get cash? Where would you go? We got some good answers. We got some more possible answers too. All right, some other answers you all can get. Nobody said gold or silver. Nobody ever said that they can convert their treasury check into gold and silver.
how?
You take it to a place that has gold and silver. You can sign your checks over. There's all types of ways. Nobody mentioned that. We never mentioned maybe you can sign it over to a business that can cash your check for you without having the bank. There's all types of ways that you all can avoid the banking system. That's what we're going to get into detail next week. All right, so let's get to the example. All right, so this is why we say you are now the banker, and the premiums and the payments that you get are the treasury checks. You're going to take that and put it into your money pool. So imagine the treasury checks being your money pool. The money pool is going to create your mortgages that you're going to control this time. Oh, go ahead. We got somebody with some feedback. All right, we
Sorry,
got Brian
fix your
Walsh.
mic.
Can't hear him. Sorry, Brian
We don't
Walsh.
hear you.
We can't hear you, Brian Walsh. I gotta mute him out until we get his mic straight.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
No, we can't hear you well. It's a little bit better. Can you type it in? Can you type it in? It's very distorted.
Gold and silver.
Sorry, Brian Walsh. We can't hear you, man. We just need you to type it in because it's very distorted. I know you said gold and silver. I got a little bit. You said no. Yeah, we can't hear him. Yes, so that's another option that you have is possible other options. So maybe Brian Walsh was going to give us another option, but let's say you did convert it, you did throw it into that money pool that we're talking about at the moment. That money pool is going to create your own mortgage for the properties that you're going to create for yourself. So you'll create trust deeds. In some states, they don't use the word trust deed. They're going to use the word mortgage. So don't worry about it. At least you're in control. The trust is the one that owns the mortgage now. So that's what you're doing with the trust money. The next is you're going to create your own credit cards. As we talk about secured credit, we'll talk about how you're securing your entire credit with your credit cards through your trust, revocable living trust. Next is cars. You'll be able to get cars through the trust, through this money pool. So that's what this looks like if you're now the banker. We're showing you how to avoid thinking that you're going to the banking system, the Federal Reserve System, first. We got to get everybody to overcome that. That's why we talk about the Federal Reserve System last, because they are not first. This number leads you to the Fed bank your money was withdrew from when you authorized the bank or corporation to give you cash. Those numbers are not there for entertainment. All of the money came from your Federal Reserve bank account. Okay, so next time you all look at money, I'm showing you that the Social Security card has a letter and a number. So every time you withdraw cash, that cash is being put out into the public, and they're trading the cash based upon your money, which we're going to talk about later, how that cash is actually your money and is connected to your Social Security card. Any questions or thoughts to the Social Security card account that is also connected to the Federal Reserve Bank? Okay, so that is why we get into the Fed bank last. I'm going to show you how you're going to get the cash out. And then last, we'll get into this point right here. The banking system I'll get into next week. But let me show you how I was able to get to the Treasury. There's another Treasury check we got for the estate. So you can see that estate is another way that you're going to be able to do the estate. You don't want to put yourself twice. We learned that you have to find someone else you trust when you're getting the check sometimes, because if you put yourself twice, it shows that you don't have anyone that you can trust, and it's not a good thing to have a trust by yourself. So we'll get into that later. The Treasury will test you to see if you have other people that you trust. Here we go. So this is where I gave examples to see if you see these signs that say Treasury checks. If you all have local cities, local locations, they will cash your checks. So look for these locations. These types of places will cash the check. We haven't seen them not cash any amount so far, because if you do this correctly, if you have the trust accounts that you have with the Treasury first, you'll be able to fund those accounts easier with cash. You'll be able to get gift cards. You can use secured credit. This will say that I use the cash. For me personally, if you want to use my method, I like to use the cash to secure my credit. So there's all types of things you can do when you cash out the Treasury check. So I just wanted to show you this is something that they actually do promote in multiple locations, where if you don't have a bank, if you don't have a means to get that bank account open, you can still get access to the funds by cashing the check. All right, so this is how it looks when you cash the check. They will give you $10,000 in cash. So if you have the $10,000 cash band over the money, this means that you now have to use those funds in the public as a business. As you understand that if you have cash on you, the police can take the money, as they call those civil seizures. So I'm giving you all real-time examples to show that if you get the money, you must be in your revocable living trust, because if you don't have the revocable living trust to prove this, the authorities can take your cash. So I'm giving you all examples, like they may be able to call the police on you. There's examples of the bank, like Wells Fargo. There's people that were big time stars. They went to withdraw like maybe $8,000, 10,000, and the police was called from the bank. So the bank will call the police, and they will say, "Hey, this person has over $10,000 of cash on them." So we're giving you all just forewarning of understanding why the revocable living trust is very important if you choose to go down this narrow road, this straight road of dealing with which we call the revenue. When you're dealing with the revenue, it's very important that you have full understanding and full knowledge and care of the fiduciary duty that you're doing. All right, so I gave you all this example to show you how it looks when they do give you the cash. This is how it looks. This is what it means that you will have over $10,000 in cash. So you have to think wisely. You have to do things in a way that maybe you're not holding on to the cash too long. Maybe as soon as you got the cash, maybe you paid off the entire rent, for instance, right? So you met your landlord at the location after you cashed it, right? And hey, how you doing? I want to give you the entire amount for my rent. Or maybe you got it in money orders. There's strategies where you got the cash and you went to the post office, like a brother said, and you grabbed the money orders. There's all types of ways that you all can maneuver those cash notes that we have that deals with the, which we say the Federal Reserve notes. And this is without the bank accounts. So we're here to overcome the bank and to overcome the need of the credit system that they call the three credit bureaus. as well as the business credit as well. We're overcoming this by getting into our own credit, by securing our credit because we have the cash. Any thoughts or questions or shares on the cash?
Is it a good idea to have these certified documents in your automobile while you're out and about? I mean, or is that just paranoia?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would not ride nowhere. If I had cash, I'm going to have my trust docs on me. I'm going to have my fiduciary. I'm going to have my tax returns. I'm going to have everything, right? That's why I'm getting into to show you all how careful you have to be with the trust because it's private. Because once you get to that point, it is a private fiduciary duty. As you can see, the social security number is the fiduciary. That's why I'm proving this right here to show that if they try to ask questions, you can prove through the software that you're filling out the social security number and the title of the fiduciary being you. All right. So any thoughts or questions on these things are great because we want to make sure we all feel comfortable if one gets a sum of money back, a sum of cash. Right? Don't feel discouraged. Don't feel that you have too much money to pay your bills. Now, I don't know how everybody is with money now. Now you got to pay your bills. Make sure you pay your debts. If you get that cash, just don't spend it frivolously because you're still going to be stuck back having to pay the debt anyway. Right? So I'm just going into layers of showing why the money comes in. Is because it comes in to help you pay off your debts, your bills, your expenses, things that you need day to day. So that'll be what you're using the money, what we say the cash, for. Next, I showed my last diagram to show you how I was able to update myself as fiduciary in the system. This proves that you're able to use the social security number as a fiduciary. This will be my last things for today. And I'll close us out because we got a lot of information that we were able to tie in. But I was able to thankfully get through as much as possible. With hopefully Brother Vince will get in next week. If you all have thoughts or shares to this call or to this video, we'll be able to put this as live on the air for YouTube in the future. But most of the information that I shared is most of the time you're able to freely get on irs.gov. And if you had to pay out any amount of cash for this whole process, if you did it freely, it'll probably cost you no more than $250 because the TaxAct software, they do charge you to use their software. So this is my last diagram right here that I'll use for today. Should a trust apply for federal tax ID? There are two types of federal tax ID a trust need important and depending on the type. Revocable and irrevocable. As you know, today we're only focusing on a revocable trust, sometimes called a living trust. Is a trust with provisions that may be altered or canceled by the grantor. A revocable trust uses the what? Social security number of the grantor for identification, and its income is reported on the grantor's tax return. So that goes back into the 1040, as well as I'm saying you're filing the 1041. That is what we focus on. If you have irrevocable, we also help with those, but we want you to have the revocable trust in place first so that you can also file your irrevocable trust documents as well. So I hope I was able to thoroughly answer a lot of the questions today of your end goal. And even after you get to the end goal, you actually feel comfortable. And that is our whole point. So I hope that I was able to go through all the screens and go through the diagrams as much as possible. We'll get into the banking system next week. I don't want to get you all caught up in the banking system as of yet, without fully having a knowledge of what the banking system is going to be used for as you get into something called secured credit. So that's all I have for today. And I'll open up for our last parts of the meeting for comments, questions, or shares or closing. And I yield the mic. Thank you.
I have a question. I looked on your website and it shows that you have set up, I believe, I'm not familiar with cryptocurrency or digital asset exchange because I just started looking into it, but it says that you have a decentralized account that is that something that is that your own type of account that other people can, you know, instead of like joining, let's say, Coinbase, which isn't decentralized, but is that something that we can invest with or sign up for?
Yes, absolutely. So I have a banking system we're working on now, which is already a decentralized, like you just said, a DeFi banking system. And if you go to 2025gallery.com, you can get a what you call a wallet. We like to say you get a wallet. All right, we got that distortion again. But you'll get a wallet, and once you get this wallet, you'll be able to take that into something called digital currency, which is also recognized by the Internal Revenue Service.
Okay. And then, so if we do receive like a tax return or amended tax return, like let's say we're doing an amended tax return and we get like a nice sum back. I mean, would you be able to take that check if we signed it over so we could open up a digital wallet?
Yeah, theoretically, we are able to convert your funds through our network into a digital wallet, if that's
Okay.
what you're saying. So you're actually
Yeah.
becoming your own banking system is what we're actually helping you do. Is the end game is that we all want you to become a private bank, a private banker, and a private broker. Those are the three layers of the banking course we like to talk about. So
Okay.
yes, that is a decentralized banking system that you will be able to use when you do that and you understand a wallet.
Okay.
So
Thank
you
you.
don't ever have to cash out into Federal Reserve notes. Okay, we have that distortion again. Yeah, you can dial into the phone. There's a way to dial in. Yeah, because it seems like every time he talks, it's a distortion. I don't know. All right, so I hope that answered the question about digital currency. So yes, we also help provide a walkthrough of how you can convert your credits or convert your cash into digital currency. I wish we can get Brian Walsh, the guy who was trying to say stuff, but it's so much distortion. Does anybody else on the call want to go into some questions maybe they had about their situation, things of that sort? Oh, we got a good question. Can that wallet be connected to a Ledger hard wallet? Absolutely, yeah. So I'm finding out this wallet that I have access, and I'll go to it for you all just to close this out. I can actually spend the funds in real time. I can use the funds on Apple Wallet. So I actually found a way to use the technology to create your digital currency to be used on Apple. So if you have an Apple phone or maybe a Google, I think it works mainly Apple right now. But yes, it'll spend the funds in real time. You can probably use up to maybe 10,000 or maybe I don't know how much in a day. But we'll look at the limits, but you can raise your limits to 100,000. Sometimes it can cash out in real time if you stay on that currency. It can go out in real time, like $100,000 can go in like seconds to somebody else's wallet. This is actually the new way to pay for things. You're going to get into digital currency, which is like really the best way to get into banking. If you're going to start practicing in the future, start practicing with a digital wallet.
And if somebody already has like an investment account, or let's say somebody out there has a broker, are they able to transfer the funds to you to be able to help create this digital
Yes.
wallet? Okay.
Yes, correct. Yeah, what we do is we will be able to secure the funds with University Technicians' decentralized banking system, right? And with our University Technicians' decentralized technology, we're going to be able to create you with a currency that's valuable, such as gold, silver. It can be Bitcoin. It can be any of the digital currencies they have out there.
Okay, so that was my next question was gold and silver, like precious metals. So
Yes.
okay.
Yes, I have mostly gold, precious metal right now as my portfolio. My portfolio is basically like 45% gold, maybe 30% USD, and the rest, 25%, I think is just other type of investments. If I had the numbers right, 45%, 30%, 25. Yep, that's right, 100%.
Okay. And do you think you'll ever have a live, for people who are interested in setting up their wallets with you? Will you ever have a live session just on that?
Right. So I'm glad that you're asking these questions. So I'm going right to the site. If you go straight to 2025gallery.com, you're able to operate privately with your business. And it does come with pretty much your virtual address and a private wallet. So you'll get access to all this information and right here. So if you open your wallet, you can get started right now.
Okay, so you go to 2025.
Yes, 2025gallery.com.
Okay.
And I'll send the link to anyone that wants to go to it because this is very important for you and your privacy today. Because you can notice the banking system is getting very fragile every day. Doesn't matter how much cash or money you have. In today's world, businesses and individuals are under constant surveillance. Public business records, banking scrutiny, and compliance loopholes make it hard to operate freely. That's why we created Operate Privately, a secure private membership designed to help entrepreneurs, investors, and business owners stay off the radar while staying compliant. That's our whole purpose. You're off the radar, but you're still in compliance.
Okay, and if somebody has credits, dollar for dollar credits in their transcripts, is it possible to transfer credits to your company to set up a
Yes.
wallet or to fund the wallet? And okay, because I'd
Yes,
like to do that.
We have a routing and account number to our wallets. That's what I'm saying. This is new technology I've just been using for the last, I should say, 8 months, 8 to 10 months. That's been working phenomenally because it has a routing and account number. So I'm
Okay.
using it regularly, like how someone would use their bank account with like a sole proprietor bank account or
Mhm.
any type of banking system. So I'm outside of the banking system as we speak now.
Okay, so is it possible to transfer credits out of well, if they're sitting in your individual account, um, is it possible to use the B to transfer the credits?
No, this will be hard.
No.
They call it hard liquidity that you've already got as a treasury check, for instance, right?
Oh, okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah, so you can't use it as in the process like it's a credit system with the wallet. The wallet has to be hard money. That's what they call it. And
Okay.
once it sits in that system, it can't be touched by the IRS, by the government, or by pretty much anyone. That's why it's called privacy.
Okay, so you probably have to transfer all your credits into your revocable living trust first, or transfer it using the tax return and then get the tax return um
Yes,
and then
exactly.
do you need it wired or do you need the check sent? Like what
Well,
is your preferred method?
well, as you're all asking this question, I'm glad you picked my brain to this point. I'm going to use my routing and account number on my tax return. That's the
Okay.
new thing that I'm going to do soon. I'm going to use the routing and account number.
Oh, so you're going to use your routing and account number of where the money is going into, like when you're filling out the direct deposit, the
Exactly.
IRS form. What
Correct.
form is that again? The 88,
Um,
it's not the
no,
8888.
it's on the 1040. You can
Oh,
fill out your routing and account right on the 1040.
oh, wow. Okay.
Here we go, right here. I'll show you all real quick how the money goes right on your. Like I keep saying to everyone, the money's coming on your 1040. There's no way around this. Everyone has to file
Oh,
their tax
that would
return
be
right there, refund.
okay.
And even those who have the sole prop account, who have that social business account, if you have that, you want to use that routing and account number that's here.
But you can't use the sole prop account on the 1041, right? You have
No,
to have the,
remember, it's 1041s come as treasury checks. There is no direct deposits with
okay.
1041s.
So 1040s, you can use the sole prop. Okay.
That's right. There you go.
Or if we want it deposited into the decentralized account.
Correct. There you go.
I love that.
But
Okay.
everyone has an exit route. We're just going and proving this just to make sure everyone can see the screens of where it goes. Now, do we have the answers to what you type in? We don't have your numbers yet, but that is the point of showing how it looks for everyone that's starting this process. All right, so
Okay.
I hope I answered that question.
Yes.
Your
Yes.
wallet.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. That was great. Thank you.
Yes, to answer your question about the bookings, we do have that available too. Once you have that wallet, there is private knowledge weekly and private entity structuring that we have available as well. So we have pretty much all of the ways to get your business started and running. It's just everyone has to be ready to do that with their EINs and with their revocable living trust. So that's my conclusion for this week, you all. Thank you for, I didn't want to hold you all too much longer. We'll go into more details next week. Till next time, thank you, peace, prosperity, and joy.
Thank you.